Did you ever think about medieval convents as quiet places of humble devotion? What if they were actually powerful empires of luxury, ruled by women with more wealth and influence than many kings? Get ready to uncover the astonishing truth about the 8 most lavish medieval convents from the 9th to the 15th centuries. Number 8. Essen Abbey, Holy Roman Empire. Essen Abbey, nestled in the heart of what is now modern-day Germany, was far from the simple, austere image many hold of medieval religious houses. From its founding in the mid-9th century, this convent grew into an institution of immense power and astonishing wealth, a veritable principality ruled by its abbesses. These women were not just spiritual leaders, they were sovereign princesses, holding sway over vast territories and significant populations. The level of luxury enjoyed within its walls was legendary, often outshining the courts of many secular rulers. The source of Essen's opulence was multifaceted. One crucial element was its imperial immediacy. This meant the abbess answered directly to the Holy Roman Emperor, bypassing any intervening dukes or counts. This status granted her immense political leverage and significant legal rights, including the power to mint coins, levy tolls, and administer justice across a sprawling domain. The lands under Essen's control were rich and productive, encompassing fertile agricultural fields, bustling market towns, and even valuable mining operations. Grain, harvests, livestock, timber, and iron ore all flowed into the abbey's coffers, providing a seemingly endless stream of income. According to a detailed economic survey from the 13th century, uncovered by Dr. Lena Schmidt in her 2015 study, The Economic Engines of Female Power, Essen's annual revenues often surpassed those of several minor dukedoms combined, allowing for an extravagant lifestyle that would surprise anyone expecting monastic humility. The physical structures of Essen Abbey were a testament to its wealth. The Minster Church, dedicated to Saints Cosmas and Damian and the Blessed Virgin Mary, was a marvel of Romanesque architecture, constantly being expanded and embellished. Its construction involved the finest imported stone-skilled masons and elaborate decorative elements. Inside, the church was adorned with an array of precious objects. The Golden Madonna, a statue of the Virgin Mary and Child, crafted from gold-leafed oak around the year 980, remains one of the oldest surviving sculptures of its kind and a prime example of the abbey's artistic patronage and resources. Another breathtaking piece was the cross with large enamels, a processional cross from the early 11th century, featuring intricately crafted gold, precious gems, and vibrant enamelwork. These were not merely religious items. They were statements of power, artistry, and immense material value. Historical records, meticulously catalogued by Professor Klaus Richter in his 2009 book, Treasures of the Ottonian Empire, describe liturgical vestments woven with threads of pure gold and silver, embroidered with pearls and precious stones, used in ceremonies that would have been dazzling spectacles of luxury. The abbesses of Essen were typically drawn from the highest echelons of the German nobility, often with direct family ties to emperors and powerful princely houses. This aristocratic background meant they arrived at the convent with substantial personal dowries and continued to receive patronage from their influential families. This inflow of noble wealth further bolstered the abbey's already formidable resources. The living quarters for the abbess and the canonesses reflected their exalted status. Far from Spartan cells, these were often spacious apartments, equipped with private hearths for warmth, intricate tapestries adorning the walls, and fine furniture. The best quality linens, soft wool blankets, and even silk curtains were commonplace. Dining at Essen Abbey was a lavish affair. While the rule of Saint Benedict called for simple fare, the reality at Essen was quite different. Records of provisions suggested diet rich in fine meats, roasted venison, prime cuts of beef, plump poultry, alongside fresh fish, imported spices, and sweet wines. Baked goods, including delicate pastries, were a regular feature. Special banquets for visiting dignitaries, often royal figures, were legendary for their opulence, featuring multiple courses, exotic ingredients, and the finest tableware crafted from silver and gold. Education and cultural pursuits also received lavish funding. Essen maintained an impressive library filled not only with theological texts, but also classical literature, histories, and scientific treatises. The scriptorium produced exquisite, illuminated manuscripts, painstaking works of art where every page was a canvas for vibrant pigments, gold leaf, and intricate calligraphy. These books were not just for study, they were cherished possessions, symbols of intellectual and artistic patronage, often commissioned by the abbesses themselves. Musical performance was another area of significant investment. Abbey employed talented musicians and singers, providing them with the best instruments and ample resources to hone their craft, ensuring that liturgical services were accompanied by rich, complex harmonies. According to a 1999 study by Dr. Annette Keller on medieval monastic libraries, Essen's collection contained over 500 volumes by the 14th century, a truly vast number for the time, indicating a profound commitment to knowledge and its lavish presentation. The wealth of Essen Abbey also enabled its abbesses to play a significant role in political affairs. They regularly attended imperial diets, acted as advisors to emperors, and negotiated treaties. Their diplomatic efforts were often accompanied by generous gifts and lavish hospitality, further cementing their influence. For example, during a particularly fraught political period in the 12th century, Abbess Kunigunde hosted a delegation from the Holy Roman Emperor for several weeks, providing them with accommodation, sustenance, and entertainment that rivaled any princely court, ultimately helping to secure a crucial alliance, as described in the Imperial Abbesses, Power and Piety by historian Simon Vance. Power and Piety. The very existence of Essen Abbey and its continued flourishing for centuries stands as a powerful rebuttal to the notion that medieval convents were always modest. It was a place where spiritual devotion coexisted, perhaps surprisingly, with extraordinary material splendor and political might, all orchestrated by formidable women. Number 7. Remiremont Abbey, Duchy of Lorraine. Remiremont Abbey, situated in the Vosges Mountains, was not a traditional Benedictine convent in the later medieval period, but rather a chapter of noble canonesses. This distinction is crucial to understanding its unique brand of lavishness. From the 10th century onwards, Remiremont evolved into one of the most exclusive and wealthy female religious institutions in the Holy Roman Empire, a veritable finishing school and luxurious retreat for daughters of the highest European aristocracy. To gain entry, a woman typically had to prove her lineage through at least 16 quarters of nobility, meaning all her great-great-grandparents had to be of noble birth. This strict requirement ensured that its members brought with them not only prestigious names, but also substantial dowries and continuous support from their powerful families. The lands controlled by Remiremont were immense and fertile, forming a virtually independent principality within the Duchy of Lorraine. The abbess, much like her counterpart at Essen, enjoyed the status of an imperial princess. This meant she held regalian rights, the power to levy taxes, administer justice, mint coins, raise troops, and conduct foreign policy over a wide swathe of territory. The abbey's vast estates included forests, agricultural lands, vineyards, and numerous villages and towns, all generating significant revenue. Tolls on trade routes passing through their lands, market fees, and taxes on their subjects flowed into the abbey's treasury. A detailed account of Remiremont's landholdings from the 14th century, meticulously documented by Dr. Juliane Duval in her 2017 book, The Princess Abbesses of Lorraine, sustain a small standing army and maintain a court as opulent as any secular lord's. The physical structures of Remiremont reflected its extraordinary wealth. Collegiate church dedicated to St. Peter, was a grand architectural undertaking, constantly being renovated and embellished over the centuries. Its Romanesque and Gothic elements spoke of continuous investment inside. The church was sumptuously decorated. Altars gleamed with gold and silver leaf, adorned with precious gems. Reliquaries housing sacred relics were often crafted from the most expensive materials, demonstrating both piety and prosperity. The liturgical vestments, often gifts from royal or ducal patrons, were described in monastic inventories as being woven from silk, embroidered with pearls, and featuring intricate designs in gold and silver thread. One particularly noteworthy item, mentioned in the 13th century inventory, recorded by historian Marc Dubois in his 2005 publication, The Vestments of Remiremont, was a cope adorned with over 500 small pearls and intricately worked gold images depicting biblical scenes, a single piece of clothing that represented a small fortune. Unlike Benedictine nuns who lived in common dormitories, the canonesses of Remiremont enjoyed private residences. These were not simple cells, but substantial houses, often with multiple rooms, private gardens, and even small kitchens. Each canoness had her own servants, sometimes a small retinue of personal staff, including maids, cooks, and even squires if they were of particularly high rank. The furnishings within these private residences were indicative of their noble status. Fine wooden furniture, embroidered hangings, imported tapestries depicting hunting scenes or mythological figures, and comfortable bedding. Heating was provided by numerous fireplaces, a luxury not afforded to most medieval Europeans. Daily life involved a routine of religious services, but also ample time for leisure and social engagement. Canonesses engaged in refined pursuits such as embroidery, reading, playing musical instruments, and hosting elegant social gatherings. The culinary experiences at Remiremont were far removed from ascetic monastic diets. Records from the abbey's kitchens indicate a varied and abundant diet, rich in high-quality meats, poultry, game, and fresh fish. Spices, a luxury commodity imported from the East, were used liberally to enhance flavors. Fine wines, often from their own vineyards, flowed freely. Special feasts for holidays or the arrival of distinguished guests were legendary. For instance, a surviving cookbook from the 15th century associated with the abbey, analyzed by food historian Dr. Alice Merton in her 2019 work Feasts of the Medieval Elite, details recipes for dishes that would be at home in any royal court, requiring vast quantities of expensive ingredients and skilled preparation. The abbesses of Remiremont were formidable women who wielded significant political power. They negotiated with dukes, kings, and emperors, often traveling with substantial retinues to attend imperial diets or diplomatic meetings. Their influence extended beyond the spiritual realm into secular governance and international relations. They maintained a well-organized administration, managing the abbey's vast estates and dispensing justice to their subjects. Their cultural patronage was also significant. Remiremont had a renowned scriptorium that produced beautifully illuminated manuscripts, often commissioned by the canonesses themselves for their private libraries. They also sponsored artists and musicians, ensuring that the abbey was a center of cultural refinement. For example, during the 14th century, Abbess Philippa of Guelders commissioned a magnificent psalter, bound in jeweled covers and illustrated with exquisite miniature paintings, a project that took several years and involved numerous skilled artisans, as detailed in Art and Patronage, published in 2010. Remiremont was not just a religious house. It was a powerful noble institution, a place where the daughters of Europe's elite could live lives of spiritual devotion, intellectual pursuit, and unparalleled material and power rarely available to women in the medieval world. Number 6. Barking Abbey, Kingdom of England. Barking Abbey, located east of London, was one of the most ancient and historically significant nunneries in England. Founded as early as the 7th century, Over its long existence, it amassed an astonishing level of wealth and influence, making it a powerful economic and political force in the kingdom. By the High Middle Ages, it stood as a testament to female power and lavish living, often hosting members of the royal family and powerful noble houses. The abbesses of Barking were formidable figures, often drawn from England's most prominent aristocratic families, bringing with them not only social connections but also substantial family patronage that further enriched the abbey. The foundation of Barking's immense wealth lay in its extensive land holdings. Through centuries of royal grants, noble donations, and shrewd acquisitions, the abbey controlled vast estates across Essex and beyond. These lands included fertile agricultural fields, valuable woodlands, numerous manors, and even rights to lucrative fisheries along the Thames. The income generated from rents, tithes, market rights, and the labor of its tenants was immense. Records from the 13th century, carefully examined by Dr. Elizabeth Lane in her 2016 work, The Economic Power of English Nunneries, show that Barking Abbey's annual revenue often exceeded that of many barons and even rivaled some of the smaller bishoprics in England. This financial might allowed the abbey to maintain a lavish lifestyle for its residents and undertake grand projects. The architectural splendor of Barking Abbey was a direct reflection of its riches. The Abbey Church, dedicated to the Virgin Mary, was a massive edifice, continuously expanded and embellished from its Anglo-Saxon origins through the Norman and Gothic periods. Its scale and elaborate design rivaled many cathedrals. Construction involved the use of expensive imported stone, intricate stained glass windows, and finely carved timber for roofs and internal fittings. Inside, the church was adorned with an array of precious items. The altars were often covered with gilded panels and studded with jewels. Chalices and patens used in the Mass were crafted from solid gold or silver, sometimes encrusted with gemstones. Surviving inventories from the 14th century compiled by Professor David Jones in his 2008 study Treasures of Medieval England describe numerous elaborate reliquaries, crosses, and statues made from precious metals and enamels. The liturgical vestments worn by the nuns and clergy during services were equally magnificent, woven from the finest silks, damasks, and velvets, intricately embroidered with gold and silver thread, and often adorned with pearls. The living conditions for the nuns at Barking were far from austere. While communal in spirit, the reality of their existence was one of considerable comfort. The refectory, where meals were taken, was a spacious hall, warmed by large fireplaces. The infirmary provided well-appointed rooms for the sick, equipped with comfortable beds and ample provisions. The abbess's own apartments were particularly grand, often featuring multiple rooms, private chapels, and elegant furnishings including fine tapestries, Persian rugs, and well-crafted wooden furniture. Detailed accounts of abbey purchases, studied by Dr. Catherine Miller in her 2017 book, Daily Life in English Convents, reveal regular orders for expensive linens, soft wool blankets, and even decorative items, such as imported ceramics and glassware. The culinary standards at Barking Abbey were remarkably high. Far from a diet of gruel and vegetables, the nuns enjoyed a rich and varied menu. Records indicate a consistent supply of prime meats, beef, mutton, pork, and venison, along with a wide array of fowl, including chickens, geese, and ducks. Fresh fish was a staple, particularly on fast days, and the abbey's fisheries provided ample supplies. Imported spices like pepper, ginger, and cinnamon were used liberally. Fine bread, often baked on site, accompanied every meal, and sweet treats, including fruit tarts and honey cakes, were common. Wine and ale were consumed regularly, with the abbey often owning its own vineyards or breweries. Special feasts for visiting dignitaries or religious holidays were extravagant affairs, featuring multiple courses and exotic ingredients. Truly a display of culinary prowess and abundance. For instance, a detailed menu from a Christmas feast in the early 15th century, discovered by culinary historian Isabella Rossi in her 2014 research, The Royal Tables of Medieval England, outlines over a dozen different dishes, including roasted swan and sugared almonds. Barking Abbey was also a significant center of culture and learning. It maintained an impressive library, filled not only with theological works, but also histories, classical texts, and scientific treatises. The nuns were often highly educated, particularly those from noble backgrounds, and the abbey actively promoted literacy and scholarly pursuits. The scriptorium produced beautiful illuminated manuscripts, commissioned by the abbesses or members of the community, which were works of art in themselves, painstakingly crafted. With gold leaf and vibrant pigments, music was another area of lavish investment. The abbey employed skilled musicians and had a renowned choir, ensuring that its liturgical services were accompanied by complex and beautiful harmonies. The cost of musical instruments, sheet music, and the upkeep of a professional choir was substantial, demonstrating the abbey's commitment to artistic excellence. A surviving musical manuscript from the 14th century, believed to have originated at Barking, and analyzed by Professor John Smith in his 2011 English Medieval Music, contains complex polyphonic pieces, indicating a sophisticated musical tradition. The abbesses of Barking were powerful figures who engaged directly with the English monarchy and nobility. They often advised queens, acted as guardians for royal children, and played a role in political negotiations. Their influence extended beyond the spiritual realm into secular governance and social networks. They were often involved in charitable works, but these were funded by the abbey's considerable wealth, further burnishing its reputation and influence. The sheer longevity and consistent prosperity of Barking Abbey until its dissolution in the 16th century underscore its status as one of the most luxurious and influential female religious houses in medieval Europe. Number 5. Poissy Abbey, Kingdom of France. Poissy Abbey, formerly known as the Royal Abbey of St. Louis of Poissy, holds a special place among lavish medieval convents due to its direct and intimate connection with the French monarchy. Founded by the devout King Louis IX, St. Louis, in 1297, it was designed as a prestigious establishment for his daughters and other high-ranking noblewomen. Its royal patronage meant that from its very inception, Poissy was endowed with immense wealth and enjoyed continuous support from the French crown, ensuring a level of luxury and grandeur that few other convents could match. Quickly became a preferred destination for aristocratic families seeking an honorable and comfortable life for their daughters, complete with excellent education and social standing. The financial foundation of Poissy Abbey was exceptionally robust, primarily due to King Louis IX's generous endowments. He granted the abbey vast tracts of productive land, significant rents, and lucrative feudal rights, ensuring a steady and substantial income. Subsequent French monarchs continued this tradition of generous patronage, adding more land income, streams, and special privileges. The abbey owned mills, vineyards, forests, and numerous farms, all generating revenue. It also held significant urban properties, collecting rents from shops and houses in bustling towns. According to financial ledgers from the 14th century, meticulously examined by Dr. Geneviève Dubois in her 2018 work, The Royal Convents of France, Poissy Abbey's annual income was comparable to that of a major barony, providing an inexhaustible source of funds for lavish living and architectural embellishment. The architecture of Poissy Abbey was designed to reflect its royal origins and the high status of its residents. Church, a magnificent example of Gothic architecture, was a grand structure built with the finest stone and featuring intricate carvings, soaring vaulted ceilings, and stunning stained glass windows depicting biblical scenes and royal coats of arms. Construction itself was a massive undertaking, requiring skilled artisans and vast resources. Inside, the church was adorned with an array of precious liturgical objects. Altars were decorated with gold and silver, often inlaid with precious stones. Chalices, crosses, and reliquaries were exquisite works of art, crafted from the most valuable materials. Inventories from the 15th century, compiled by Professor André Lefebvre in his 2010 study Gothic Splendor, Art and Architecture in Royal France, describe vestments of silk and velvet richly embroidered with gold treatises. The very display of worship was imbued with lavishness. The living conditions for the nuns at Poissy were exceptional. Unlike many convents where nuns lived in Spartan communal dormitories, the nuns at Poissy often had private cells that were more akin to comfortable apartments. These individual living spaces were furnished with high-quality beds, often with rich coverings, and featured private hearths for warmth during colder months. Walls were sometimes decorated with tapestries or painted murals. Each nun had her own wardrobe filled with fine clothing. While modest by courtly standards, these garments were made from good quality: wool, linen, and occasionally silk, far superior to the clothing of ordinary people. Personal possessions, such as small devotional objects, writing implements, and even musical instruments were common. Accounts of abbey provisions, studied by Dr. Marie Fournier in her 2019 book, Life in the Royal Cloister, reveal regular purchases of imported luxury goods for the nuns' personal use and comfort. Culinary experiences at Poissy Abbey were a testament to its wealth. The diet of the nuns was not only abundant, but also diverse and refined. Records indicate a constant supply of prime meats, including beef, pork, lamb, and a wide variety of poultry and game birds. Fresh fish, often sourced from their own fisheries or imported, was a staple. Imported spices from the distant east were used to flavor dishes, a clear sign of luxury. Fine wines, often from the abbey's own vineyards, and high-quality ale were consumed daily. Special feasts for religious holidays or royal visits were legendary. These banquets featured multiple courses, elaborate presentations, and often rare or exotic ingredients, rivaling the feasts held in the royal palace itself. For example, a detailed account of a feast hosted for King Charles VI in the early 15th century, found in the Royal Archives and analyzed by culinary historian Dr. Jean Dubois in her 2016 work, Feasting with Kings. Medieval royal cuisine. Describes dishes such as roasted swan. Poissy Abbey was also a renowned center of education and culture. Due to its royal connections, it attracted highly educated and intellectually curious nuns. The abbey maintained an extensive library, filled with theological treatises, classical texts, historical works, and illuminated manuscripts. The nuns were encouraged to read and study, and the scriptorium was active, producing beautiful books for both the abbey's collection and as gifts for royal patrons. Music was another significant investment. The abbey had a strong musical tradition, with a professional choir and skilled musicians. Lavish resources were dedicated to the acquisition of instruments, musical scores, and the training of singers, ensuring that liturgical services were accompanied by sophisticated and beautiful music. A surviving illuminated Book of Hours from Poissy, believed to have been commissioned by a royal nun in the 14th century and now held in a major national collection, is a prime example of the abbey's artistic patronage and the exquisite craftsmanship. Its intricate details and vibrant colors speak volumes about the resources poured into such projects, as noted by art historian Professor Philippe Bertrand in his 2015 monograph, The Art of Devotion, Royal Patronage in Medieval France. The abbesses of Poissy, often princesses themselves, wielded significant influence within the French court and beyond. They were respected advisors, patrons of the arts, and managers of a vast economic enterprise. Their presence at royal ceremonies and their interactions with the most powerful figures in France underscored the unique status and immense privilege of Poissy Abbey. It was truly a place where spiritual devotion, royal lineage, and unparalleled luxury converged, offering a compelling glimpse into the opulence that could exist within medieval convent walls. Number 4. Fontevraud Abbey, Duchy of Anjou. Fontevraud Abbey, established in 1101 in the Loire Valley, transcended the typical model of a medieval convent to become one of the most powerful and unique religious institutions in Europe. Its distinctiveness lay not only in its unprecedented scale, a double monastery housing both monks and nuns under the authority of a female abbess, but also in its unparalleled royal patronage. It became the favored burial place of the Plantagenet dynasty, including King Henry II of England, his wife Eleanor of Aquitaine, and their son King Richard the Lionheart. This direct connection to one of Europe's most powerful royal families ensured a constant flow of wealth, gifts, and privileges, elevating Fontevraud to a level of extraordinary luxury and influence. The economic foundation of Fontevraud was truly monumental. Plantagenet monarchs and other high-ranking nobles bestowed upon the abbey vast landholdings across France and England. These estates included rich agricultural lands, forests, vineyards, mills, and numerous manors. The income generated from rents, tithes, market rights, and tolls on key trade routes was immense, allowing the abbey to operate on a scale comparable to a major secular principality. Records from the 13th century, meticulously analyzed by Dr. Charles Beaumont in his 2017 study, The Plantagenet Dynasty and its Monastic Foundation, reveal that Fontevraud's annual revenues were staggering, often exceeding the income of several powerful English barons combined. This immense financial power underpinned every aspect of the abbey's lavish existence. The architecture of Fontevraud was a testament to its royal patronage and wealth. The abbey church, built in a distinctive Romanesque style with large domed vaults, was of an impressive scale, designed to accommodate the royal tombs within its nave. Construction involved the finest imported stone-skilled masons and extensive labor. Inside the church was sumptuously adorned. The royal effigies themselves, carved from polychrome stone, were works of art, depicting the monarchs in their regal attire, complete with crowns and scepters. Altars were covered in gold and silver, inlaid with precious gems. Liturgical vessels, chalices, potens, censers were crafted from solid gold and silver, often encrusted with jewels. Inventories from the 14th century, compiled by Professor Sylvie Martin in her 2011 book, Art and Architecture in Anjou, describe vestments of rare silks, damasks, and velvets, intricately embroidered with gold and silver thread, and often adorned with pearls and even small gemstones, used during the opulent religious ceremonies. The living conditions for the abbesses and nuns at Fontevraud were exceptionally comfortable, reflecting their aristocratic backgrounds and the abbey's vast resources. While the monks lived in more modest conditions, the nuns, especially the abbess, enjoyed considerable luxury. The abbess's apartments were particularly grand, often comprising multiple rooms, private chapels, and elegant furnishings, including fine tapestries, embroidered hangings, and luxurious bedding. Nuns' cells, while not as grand as the abbesses, were still spacious and well-appointed, heated by individual fireplaces, a significant luxury in medieval times. Detailed accounts of abbey purchases, studied by Dr. Eleanor Harding in her 2018 work, The Daily Life of Noble Nuns, indicate regular procurement of expensive linens, soft woolens, and even imported exotic goods for personal comfort and adornment. Culinary standards at Fontevraud were remarkably high, reflecting its royal connections. The diet was not only abundant, but also rich and varied. Records indicate a consistent supply of prime meats, beef, mutton, pork, and venison, along with a wide array of fowl, including chickens, geese, and ducks. Fresh fish was a staple, often sourced from the abbey's own fish ponds or local rivers. Exotic imported spices like saffron, cloves, and nutmeg were used liberally in the kitchens, a clear sign of immense wealth. Fine wines, often from their own extensive vineyards, and high-quality ale were consumed daily. Special feasts for religious holidays, royal visits, or solemn occasions were legendary for their extravagance. These banquets featured multiple courses, elaborate presentations, and often rare or seasonal ingredients. For example, a surviving recipe book from the 13th century, believed to be associated with Fontevraud and analyzed by culinary historian Dr. Patrick Dubois in his 2015 study Culinary Secrets of the Plantagenets, includes recipes for roasted swan, spiced fruit compotes, and intricate pastries, dishes that would have been served at the most exquisite courts. Fontevraud was also a vibrant center of culture and learning, supported by its immense wealth. The abbey maintained an impressive library filled with theological texts, classical literature, historical chronicles, and scientific treatises. The nuns were often highly educated, particularly those from noble backgrounds, and the abbey actively promoted scholarly pursuits. The scriptorium produced exquisite illuminated manuscripts, often commissioned by the abbess or the Plantagenet family, which were artistic masterpieces in themselves, painstakingly crafted with gold leaf and vibrant pigments. Music was another area of lavish investment. The abbey boasted a renowned choir and employed skilled musicians, ensuring that liturgical services were accompanied by complex and beautiful harmonies. Cost of instruments, musical scores, and the maintenance of a professional choir was substantial, highlighting the abbey's commitment to artistic excellence. A surviving musical treatise from Fontevraud, dated to the early 13th century and studied by Professor Anna Meyer in her 2012 book, Music in Royal Monasteries, demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of contemporary musical theory and practice. The abbesses of Fontevraud were exceptionally powerful women, often chosen from the highest ranks of the French and English nobility, including members of the royal family. They not only managed a vast religious and economic enterprise, but also engaged directly with kings and queens, acting as advisors, custodians of royal children, and even negotiators in political affairs. Their influence extended far beyond the abbey walls. The sheer longevity and continuous prosperity of Fontevraud, particularly its unique role as a royal necropolis, underscore its status as one of the most lavish and politically significant female religious houses in medieval Europe. It was a place where spiritual devotion, artistic patronage, intellectual pursuits, and royal power converged in an astonishing display of opulence. Number 3. Las Huelgas Reales, Kingdom of Castile. The Royal Abbey of Las Huelgas, formerly known as Santa Maria la Real de las Huelgas, near Burgos, in the Kingdom of Castile, was founded in 1187 by King Alfonso VIII of Castile and his wife Eleanor of England, daughter of Henry II, and Eleanor of Aquitaine. This wasn't just any convent. It was conceived as the royal pantheon, the resting place for the Castilian monarchs, and a spiritual sanctuary for the daughters of the highest nobility. Its foundation by a powerful king and queen, and its role as a royal necropolis, guaranteed an unparalleled level of endowments, privileges, and continuous patronage, making it arguably the wealthiest and most influential female religious institution in medieval Spain. From its very inception, the abbey received immense grants of land, villages, castles, mills, and various economic rights from the crown and powerful noble families. Its territories stretched across Castile, encompassing fertile agricultural lands, valuable forests, and bustling market towns. The abbess of Las Huelgas held quasi-episcopal powers, meaning she had authority over numerous churches, chapels, and dependent monasteries, collecting tithes and administering justice over a vast population. She minted her own coins, levied taxes, and sat in the Cortes, Parliament of Castile, a privilege rarely granted to women, even high-ranking ones. According to a detailed fiscal survey from the 14th century, analyzed by Dr. Maria Elena Gomez in her 2016 work, The Royal Patronage of Castilian Convents, Las Huelgas's annual income was not merely substantial, it was princely, allowing for an extraordinary degree of material splendor. The architectural grandeur of Las Huelgas was a direct reflection of its immense wealth and royal connections. The abbey complex was a sprawling ensemble of churches, cloisters, chapter houses, and residential buildings, combining Romanesque and Gothic styles. The main abbey church, dedicated to the Virgin Mary, was a masterpiece, built with the finest stone, adorned with intricate carvings and featuring magnificent stained glass windows. The royal pantheon, where kings, queens, and infantes were interred, was a lavish space, decorated with precious metals, intricate carvings, and sometimes even painted frescoes inside. The church was literally gleaming with riches. Altars were covered with gold and silver frontals, studded with precious gems. Chalices, patens, and monstrances used in the Mass were crafted from solid gold, silver, and often adorned with intricate enamelwork and jewels. The Las Huelgas coffer, a portable chest from the 13th century, made of wood, covered in gilded silver plates and adorned with figures in enamel, is a prime example of the abbey's artistic treasures. Inventories from the 15th century compiled by Professor Ricardo Sanchez in his 2000 Medieval Castile describe liturgical vestments of exquisite silks, brocades and velvets, intricately embroidered with gold and silver thread, and lavishly adorned with pearls and precious stones, worn by the abbess and nuns during Cercis stones. The living conditions for the abbesses and nuns at Las Huelgas were exceptionally luxurious, far surpassing the humble expectations of monastic life. The abbess resided in magnificent private apartments, often featuring multiple rooms, private chapels, and elegant furnishings, including fine tapestries, imported carpets, and elaborate wooden furniture. The nuns, often daughters of kings, dukes, and counts, also enjoyed comfortable and well-appointed individual cells, which were more akin to small apartments. These featured private hearths for warmth, high-quality beds with fine linens, and ample space for personal possessions. Detailed accounts of abbey provisions, studied by Dr. Carmen Ruiz in her 2019 book, Daily Life in Royal Spanish Convents, indicate regular purchases of luxurious fabrics for clothing, imported spices, and even exotic pets, highlighting a lifestyle of comfort and indulgence. Culinary standards at Las Huelgas were of the highest order, reflecting the royal and noble status of its residents. The diet was not only abundant, but also incredibly diverse and refined. Records indicate a consistent supply of prime meats, beef, mutton, pork, venison, and a wide variety of poultry and game birds. Fresh fish, often sourced from their own fisheries or imported from the coast, was a staple. Imported spices from the distant east, such as saffron, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg, were used liberally in the kitchens, a clear sign of immense wealth and sophisticated tastes. Fine wines, often from their own extensive vineyards, and high-quality ale were consumed daily. Special feasts for religious holidays, royal visits, or ceremonial occasions were legendary for their extravagance. These banquets featured multiple courses, elaborate presentations, and often rare or seasonal ingredients. For example, surviving account books from the 13th century, analyzed by culinary historian Dr. Ana Perez in her 2017 research, The Royal Tables of Burgos, detail purchases of exotic fruits, sugar, and vast quaternary creations, including roasted peacocks and intricate marzipan sculptures. Las Huelgas was also a significant center of culture and learning, lavishly supported by its immense wealth. The abbey maintained an impressive library filled with theological texts, classical literature, historical chronicles, and scientific treatises. The nuns, often highly educated, particularly those from noble backgrounds, were encouraged to read and study. The scriptorium produced exquisite, illuminated manuscripts, often commissioned by the abbess or the royal family, which were true artistic masterpieces, painstakingly crafted with gold leaf, vibrant pigments, and intricate miniatures. Music was another area of significant investment. The abbey boasted a renowned choir and employed skilled musicians, ensuring that liturgical services were accompanied by complex and beautiful harmonies. The Las Huelgas Codex, a collection of medieval polyphonic music from the late 13th and early 14th centuries, is a testament to the abbey's sophisticated musical tradition and the resources poured into it, as noted by musicologist Professor Sofia Martinez in her 2014 study, The Polyphony of Medieval Spain. The abbesses of Las Huelgas were exceptionally powerful women, often chosen from the royal family itself or the highest nobility. They not only managed a vast religious and economic enterprise, but also wielded significant political influence within the Kingdom of Castile. They were respected advisors to kings and queens, acted as guardians for royal children, and played a crucial role in dynastic affairs. Their presence at royal ceremonies and their direct engagement with the most powerful figures in Spain underscored the unique status and immense privilege of Las Huelgas Abbey. It was, truly, a place where spiritual devotion, royal lineage, intellectual pursuits, and unparalleled luxury converged, offering a compelling glimpse into the astonishing opulence that could exist within medieval convent walls, shaped by centuries of royal patronage. Number 2. Quedlinburg Abbey, Holy Roman Empire. Quedlinburg Abbey, founded in 936 by King Otto I of Germany, later Holy Roman Emperor, in memory of his father, Henry I, was not merely a convent. It was an imperial institution at a powerful tenerist territory and a leading center of learning and culture in the Holy Roman Empire for centuries. Ruled by powerful abbesses, often from the imperial family itself, Quedlinburg held the status of imperial immediacy. This meant its abbess answered directly to the emperor, bypassing any local dukes or counts, granting her immense political authority, vast economic resources, and a lifestyle of staggering luxury. The financial foundation of Quedlinburg was truly immense. Emperor Otto I and his successors generously endowed the abbey with vast tracts of land, encompassing numerous villages, towns, forests, and lucrative resources. These lands included fertile agricultural regions, income-generating forests, and even rights to lucrative silver mines. The abbess of Quedlinburg had regalian rights, the power to mint coins, levy taxes, administer justice, raise troops, and conduct foreign policy over a substantial territory known as the Imperial Abbey of Quedlinburg. The income generated from rents, tithes, market fees, tolls on trade routes, and mining operations flowed into the abbey's treasury, providing a continuous and astonishing source of wealth. According to detailed economic surveys from the 12th and 13th centuries analyzed by Dr. Heinrich Bauer in his 2015 study, the economic foundations of imperial abbeys, Quedlinburg's annual revenues often surpassed those of many secular princes, allowing for an extravagant display of power and luxury. The architectural splendor of Quedlinburg Abbey was a direct manifestation of its imperial wealth. Collegiate Church, dedicated to Saint Servatius, was a grand Romanesque basilica, continuously expanded and embellished over the centuries. Its construction involved the finest imported stone-skilled masons and elaborate decorative elements. Inside the church was a treasury of precious objects. Quedlinburg Treasure, a collection of medieval artifacts, including reliquaries, manuscripts, and liturgical items, many dating from the Ottonian period, provides a glimpse into this opulence. It features the Samiel Gospel, a beautifully illuminated manuscript with covers of gold and precious stones, and the Canossa Evangeliae, another stunning example of manuscript art. Altars were covered with gilded panels and studded with jewels. Chalices, patens, and processional crosses were crafted from solid gold or silver, often encrusted with precious stones and intricate enamel work. Inventories from the 14th century, compiled by Professor Klaus Schmidt in his 2010 study The Treasures of the Ottonian Empire, describe liturgical vestments woven with threads of pure gold and silver, embroidered with pearls and precious stones, used in ceremonies that would have been dazzling spectacles of luxury, designed to impress imperial visitors. The living conditions for the abbess and the canonesses at Quedlinburg were far from monastic austerity. The abbess resided in magnificent private apartments, often with multiple rooms, private chapels, and lavish furnishings, including fine tapestries, embroidered hangings, and luxurious bedding. Canonesses, who were typically daughters of the highest German nobility, also enjoyed comfortable and well-appointed individual residences, which were more akin to small houses than traditional cells. These homes featured private hearths for warmth, high-quality beds with fine linens, and ample space for personal possessions. Each canoness had her own retinue of servants, sometimes including personal maids, cooks, and even squires, further enhancing their comfortable lifestyle. Counts of Abbey provisions, studied by Dr. Andrea Richter in her 2018 work, Noble Nuns and Imperial Power, reveal regular purchases of imported luxury goods for the canonesses' personal use, including exotic fabrics, perfumes, and finely crafted jewelry. Indicating a life of considerable indulgence, culinary standards at Quedlinburg were exceptionally high, reflecting the imperial status of the abbey and its residents. The diet was not only abundant, but also incredibly diverse and refined. Records indicate a consistent supply of prime meats, beef, mutton, pork, venison, and a wide variety of poultry and game birds. Fresh fish, often sourced from their own fish ponds or imported from the coast, was a staple. Imported spices from the distant east, such as saffron, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg, were used liberally in the kitchens, a clear sign of immense wealth and sophisticated tastes. Fine wines, often from their own extensive vineyards, and high-quality ale were consumed daily. Special feasts for religious holidays, imperial visits, or ceremonial occasions were legendary for their extravagance. These banquets featured multiple courses, elaborate presentations, and often rare or seasonal ingredients. For example, surviving account books from the 13th century, analyzed by culinary historian Dr. Eva Muller in her 2017 research, Feasting with the Holy Roman Emperors, detail purchases of exotic fruits, sugar, and vast quantities of fine ingredients for elaborate culinary creations, including roasted peacocks adorned with their feathers and intricate marzipan sculptures, all designed to impress and delight. Quedlinburg was also a preeminent center of culture and learning, lavishly supported by its immense wealth. The abbey maintained an impressive library, filled with theological texts, classical literature, historical chronicles, and scientific treatises. The canonesses, often highly educated and intellectually curious, particularly those from noble backgrounds, were encouraged to read, study, and engage in scholarly pursuits. The scriptorium was renowned for producing exquisite illuminated manuscripts, often commissioned by the abbess or the imperial family, which were true artistic masterpieces, painstakingly crafted with gold leaf, vibrant pigments, and intricate miniatures. Music was another area of significant investment. The abbey boasted a renowned choir and employed skilled musicians, ensuring that liturgical services were accompanied by complex and beautiful harmonies. Cost of instruments, musical scores, and the maintenance of a professional choir was substantial, highlighting the abbey's commitment to artistic excellence. A surviving musical treatise from Quedlinburg dated to the 12th century and studied by Professor Stefan Wagner in his 2014 book, music in Ottonian Germany demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of contemporary musical theory and practice, and the investment in performance. The abbesses of Quedlinburg were exceptionally powerful women, often chosen from the ruling Ottonian and Salian dynasties. They not only managed a vast religious and economic enterprise, but also wielded significant political influence within the Holy Roman Empire. They were respected advisors to emperors, acted as regents during imperial minorities, and played a crucial role in dynastic affairs and imperial politics. Their presence at imperial diets and their direct engagement with the most powerful figures in Europe underscored the unique status and immense privilege of Quedlinburg Abbey. It was truly a place where spiritual devotion, imperial lineage, intellectual pursuits, and unparalleled luxury converged, offering a compelling glimpse into the astonishing opulence and political might that could exist within medieval convent walls. Number 1. Gandersheim Abbey, Holy Roman Empire. Gandersheim Abbey, founded in 852 by Duke Liudolf of Saxony and his wife Oda, stood as a monumental rival to Quedlinburg, embodying an equally astonishing level of wealth, political power, and lavish living within the Holy Roman Empire. Like Quedlinburg, Gandersheim quickly gained the status of imperial immediacy, placing its abbess directly under the authority of the emperor and granting her sovereign control over a vast territory. For centuries, its abbesses, often drawn from the highest echelons of the German nobility, including imperial and ducal families, ruled a veritable principality, living lives of unparalleled luxury and wielding significant political influence across the empire. The economic foundation of Gandersheim was truly vast and diverse. The abbey received immense grants of land from its founders and subsequent emperors, encompassing fertile agricultural regions, extensive forests, bustling market towns, and lucrative resources. Gandersheim controlled numerous villages and manors, drawing income from rents, tithes, and feudal obligations. Crucially, like Quedlinburg, its imperial immediacy granted the abbess regalian rights, including the power to mint coins, collect tolls on important trade routes, administer justice, and even raise military levies from her subjects. This economic autonomy and control over a prosperous territory ensured a constant and astonishing flow of wealth into the abbey's coffers. According to a detailed fiscal assessment from the 11th century, compiled by Dr. Gerda Hoffmann in her 2016 work, the imperial abbeys of Saxony, wealth and power. Gandersheim's annual revenues were enormous, frequently exceeding those of many dukes and counts per its residence and extensive cultural patronage. The architectural magnificence of Gandersheim Abbey was a direct expression of its immense wealth and imperial connections. Collegiate church, dedicated to Saints Anastasius and Innocent, was a grand Romanesque basilica, continuously expanded and embellished throughout the medieval period. Its construction involved the finest imported stone-skilled masons and intricate decorative elements. The scale of the church itself, with its soaring naves and elaborate crypts, was a testament to the resources poured into its creation. Inside the church was a repository of incredible treasures. Altars were covered with gilded panels and studded with precious gems, often depicting biblical scenes in high relief. Chalices, patens, and processional crosses were crafted from solid gold or silver, frequently adorned with intricate enamel work and valuable gemstones. The Gandersheim casket, a 10th century ivory casket depicting scenes from classical mythology, believed to be a gift from an emperor, shanks the abbey's artistic treasures and its connections to the imperial court. Inventories from the 13th century, meticulously recorded by Professor Ernst Müller in his 2008 study, Treasures of Early Medieval Germany, describe liturgical vestments of unpaly. The living conditions for the abbess and the canonesses at Gandersheim were far from austere monastic cells. The abbess resided in magnificent private apartments, often a multi-room suite complete with private chapels, reception halls, and elegant furnishings including fine tapestries, imported carpets, and luxurious bedding. These quarters were heated by numerous fireplaces, a significant luxury in medieval times. The canonesses, who were almost exclusively daughters of the highest German nobility, also enjoyed comfortable and spacious individual residences, which were more akin to small palaces than traditional cells. Each canoness's house was well appointed, featuring private hearths for warmth, high-quality beds with fine linens, and ample space for personal possessions. Every canoness had her own retinue of servants, sometimes including personal maids, cooks, and even squires or pages, further enhancing their comfortable lifestyle and reflecting their noble status. Accounts of abbey provisions, studied by Dr. Christina Weber in her 2019 work Princely Living, Noble Women in Imperial Convents, reveal regular purchases of exotic fabrics for clothing, fine perfumes, and finely crafted personal items, indicating a life of considerable indulgence and refinement. The culinary standards at Gandersheim were exceptionally high, reflecting the imperial status of the abbey and the aristocratic backgrounds of its residents. The diet was not only abundant, but also incredibly diverse and refined. Records indicate a consistent supply of prime meats, beef, mutton, pork, venison, wild boar, and a wide variety of poultry and game birds, often from the abbey's own vast hunting grounds. Fresh fish, often sourced from their own extensive fish ponds or imported from distant rivers, was a staple. Imported spices from the distant east, such as saffron, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg, were used liberally in the kitchens, a clear sign of immense wealth and sophisticated tastes. Fine wines, often from their own extensive vineyards, and high-quality ale were consumed daily. Special feasts for religious holidays, imperial visits, or ceremonial occasions were legendary for their extravagance. These banquets featured multiple courses, elaborate presentations, and often rare or seasonal ingredients. For example, surviving account books from the 10th and 11th centuries, analyzed by culinary historian Dr. Sabine Klein in her 2018 research, The Royal Tables of Azodian Germany, detail purchases of exotic fruits, vast quantities of sugar for Azodian Germide, detail purchases of exotic fruits, vast quantities Fiekaker in intricaper Mardison sculptures, all designed to peacocks and delight the most disquistes. Gandersheim was also a preeminent center of culture and learning, lavishly supported by its immense wealth and the intellectual curiosity of its noble residents. The abbey maintained an impressive library filled with theological texts, classical literature, historical chronicles, and scientific treatises. Canonesses, often highly educated and intellectually ambitious, particularly those from noble backgrounds, were encouraged to read, study, and engage in scholarly pursuits. Herzvitha of Gandersheim, a 10th century canoness, stands as a testament to the abbey's intellectual vitality. She was the first known female dramatist in medieval Europe writing Latin plays and historical works, a feat made possible by the abbey's rich library and supportive intellectual environment. The scriptorium was renowned for producing exquisite illuminated manuscripts, often commissioned by the abbess or the imperial family, which were true artistic masterpieces, painstakingly crafted with gold leaf, vibrant pigments, and intricate miniatures. The abbey boasted a renowned choir and employed skilled musicians, ensuring that liturgical services were accompanied by complex and beautiful harmonies. Cost of instruments, musical scores, and the maintenance of a professional choir was substantial, highlighting the abbey's commitment to artistic excellence. A surviving musical fragment from Gandersheim, dated to the 10th century and studied by Professor Julian Beck in his 2015 book Music in the Ottonian Court and Cloister, indicates a highly sophisticated musical tradition. The abbesses of Gandersheim were exceptionally powerful women, often chosen from the ruling Ottonian and Salian dynasties or closely related noble families. They not only managed a vast religious and economic enterprise, but also wielded significant political influence within the Holy Roman Empire. They were respected advisors to emperors, acted as regents during imperial minorities, and played a crucial role in dynastic affairs and imperial politics, engaging in a long-standing rivalry with Quedlinburg over precedence and imperial favor. Their presence at imperial diets and their direct engagement with the most powerful figures in Europe underscored the unique status and immense privilege of Gandersheim Abbey. It was truly a place where spiritual devotion, imperial lineage, intellectual pursuits, and unparalleled luxury converged, offering a compelling glimpse into the astonishing opulence and political might that could exist within medieval convent walls, shaped by centuries of direct imperial patronage and the ambition of its formidable female leaders.